welcome to today's video, and today's video is the continuation of the last video, which is equipping carbon parts onto the M3. So we still have to take care of the side skirts. Some of the bolts we have used are slightly too short, and one more thing, which is this gap. So I had a look at some of the photos I took, and I've seen that it's slightly larger than the other side, but I guess this is a good opportunity to fix up the gap. Now, I was meant to finish this off yesterday, but I was tired, and tired is an understatement. On Saturday to Sunday, they moved forward the clock, and I only slept for like 4 hours, which isn't ideal, so I didn't really have enough energy. But today, which is Monday, we're gonna try to put on the side bumper, rear bumper skirts, and maybe, just maybe, the rear diffuser. But we will see how we get on, because again, we are in the middle of nowhere, because if you don't have space to work with, you don't got much choice. So I really don't think that the side skirts for the rear bumper are going to be an issue, but I'm slightly more worried about the fitment of the rear diffuser, which I'm only going to be able to test whenever we will remove the actual exhaust pipes, because the exhaust pipes, they are too big to let the diffuser through. But honestly here, what we have are just 3 screws, which we can essentially undo, slip our hand under, and be able to do up the bolts, which isn't looking too hard, but we all know how working on cars is. So really quickly, let's take a look under and I will show you what I mean. So we only have those 2 screws actually, the third one is missing. Again, I've got a bunch of them at home, so I'm gonna put this all back the way it should be. Even if the metal tab is broken, I've got plenty of those. I've got a full drawer full of plastic parts, mounts and stuff, but this actually makes our work slightly quicker. Currently, we are really quickly trying to kind of mock up the part. You can see that there's a little gap, so we kind of have to balance between 2 things. Let me show you. So if we come underneath, you can see that there are the original mounting bolts. So if we have this part too close, we won't be able to mount this hardware. So what we are trying to do essentially is to kind of align it, see where the best placement is, so then when it's ready to be put on, we have a better understanding of what we're doing. And of course, I got my little helper with me right there. I will definitely show you how it looks like after. It's definitely going to be hard to record under there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 initial holes. We may end up with 3, but I want to get the initial holes in order to put a bolt through to see how the fitment works. Now those, I thought they were fitted a lot better until I saw the underneath, and it's not about the actual side lip thing going over the bolts, but you'll see what I mean after I'll put this on. Okay, so hello, let's test this angle out. So if we go like this, let me put the bolt through actually. Okay, so testing this on, again, the bolts are too short. Mainly because when I was drilling the hole, I drilled it at an angle, you can see right here. So with this washer going over it, and I do really want to have washers, it just doesn't work. Now we have 2 options. I have self-tappers. We can definitely go with self-tappers because I've already done this in the rear. No issues whatsoever, so this is what we may end up going with. So first off, let's look at the difference between the self-tapper and the bolt. It is definitely slightly longer, but we obviously don't need to put on the nut at the end of a self-tapper. Now this self-tapper does contain a wider kind of ring on the head, which means that it will technically work like the washer. So again, those are an all-right self-tappers to use. Now, if you are using self-tappers and you do not want to crack your carbon, what I recommend is screwing it in through the actual carbon fiber part, and then through the bumper, just so it actually goes through, and then do the rest by hand, because again, if you tighten this too hard, it is going to crack your carbon without a doubt. So yeah, you want to be careful. Again, doing it for the rear is completely fine. For the side skirts, I would also agree that it's totally fine, but again, front lip, I would highly recommend using the bolts and nuts. So let's do a quick inspection. We can see that the gap is actually quite even. It goes in a little further here. Now, if we were to kind of stick this out a little, we would have issues with a slightly larger gap. So I decided to go slightly more inwards right here, which makes the gap look a lot more seamless. I'm going to use a 3rd self-tapper in the middle just to have a better fitment, but honestly, it's actually very sturdy, and it actually is looking a lot better than I have expected after doing that initial fit. It honestly wasn't looking too good, but now it's actually not bad. So let's continue, get this side done, go over to the next side, and then we'll be able to see some more. But check this out. You can already see that this line is nicely going along this line, which I am a big fan of. Before I'm gonna do the other side, I wanna show you this. This looks so much better, in my opinion. It definitely looks a lot more aggressive, and having that lip in the front and the side skirt and the rear, it just kind of completes this single line look, which definitely, to me, is so much better. Now, since I've used self-tappers and it was kind of annoying to get everything aligned, I honestly kind of sort of regretted doing this. I didn't know if it was going to be as good as I kind of hoped it to be, but I think that this is definitely a look that doesn't really disappoint. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the other side. If there will be anything eventful, obviously I will let you know, but it is definitely going to take some time to align this other rear splitter. Before we start on the other side, let me show you what we got here. So right here you can see the 3 self-tappers, which are definitely sufficient for what we are doing. So now let's hop over to the other side and try to align it our best. The second side is on. Check this out. You can see that the gap right here, let me just flip the screen so I can see myself what I'm showing, but you can see that this gap, like there isn't any kind of visible wider gap. So if we come around here, you can see that it is the same thing. So it's just the bumper and the kind of bumper side skirt thing extension, which is nice. From the rear, so even if you take a look at this part right here, you can see that it's coming up to my knuckle. And if we come around here, you can see that it's also coming up to my knuckle. I know, very scientific, I know you were probably able to tell, but this is actually looking fine. I may have had drilled 2 more holes than needed on this side, on the left side, but it is what it is. It's holding on well, it's looking nice. Let me show you one more angle. So from the rear, I know that the car is lifted on one side, but even the rear is already looking a lot more thick, a lot more wider. It's definitely looking a lot more aggressive, and to be honest, I really like the look of the F80's rear end. And I think that if we were to put on the rear diffuser, it is going to be looking slightly more of an F80 type, which is just, you know, square, more aggressive, wider, bigger, which is what we want from our thick rear end. So it's day 2. We are going to finish off working on the M3 today. All we got to do is just the rear diffuser. Don't worry about the hair, we're going to take care of it tomorrow. Now, the very first thing we need to do is to actually take off the tips in order to clean the actual bumper. Now, the tips are so big that even the diffuser as it isn't going to be able to go over it. So we're going to be able to test the fitment once those tips actually come off. So one thing for sure is that we are definitely going to be replacing those tips, because right now with the diffuser, they won't stick out as far as I would like them to be. So we're going to order silver ones just so they actually stand out better. And we are going to poke them out a little. By the way, before we actually get to fitting the rear diffuser to see how the fitment is, I got some longer screws or bolts. So right here, this is a 3 centimeter bolt. Previously we had 2 centimeter, they didn't have 2.5, which would be ideal. We have plenty of space just as the side skirt mounts, but I'm probably not gonna show this on video. Here you will see some photos of me actually getting it done. It's the same process. So let's test the fitment to see if this is even viable to put on. And I'm already looking at this, being slightly worried. We might have a problem. We might have a pretty big problem. Now, the way the bumper curves is upwards and this diffuser curves downwards, even though I had it on a flat surface just for this not to happen. Despite the poor fitment, I went ahead and cleaned the rear bumper anyways. I know that those diffusers have pretty bad fitment, but I wasn't aware that it is going to be this bad. Hopefully you won't be able to hear some lawnmower or whatever it is, but I got a pair of helping hands, and the only way we could get it to fit somehow, now in the end we're gonna find out once we actually stick it on, is by my brother was holding it around the other side and I was holding it on this side, and we had to press in the rear diffuser. Now in the middle it still was kind of a banana upwards rather than downwards, so it would form to the bumper, but with enough force we were kind of able to push it down. But just with enough force we were able to push it down. Now I already took photos. I'm gonna try to get some refund from it because the fitment is absolutely trash. And again, like, look where those imperfections are, like right here, right there, in like the most obvious visible spots, which again isn't ideal. And again, I'm gonna have a conversation with them, because again, like this, it passed quality control. Like, there's a quality control sticker, but the only quality control that this deserves is probably right to the bin. But I might be over exaggerating a little, because I kind of want the best for this car, and eventually we are going to upgrade this. Now the rear bumper is clean where it needs to be, so the next thing to do is to apply a bunch of tape around the edges, which is what I'm going to do. But I'm also going to go under the bumper and put some more tape just on the edges that you don't see. Again, I don't want the rear diffuser touching the edges, or I don't want the edges of the rear diffuser touching the bumper, because I know that it's slightly rough around the edges. But I also forgot to mention that I took a file and went all the way around the edges to smoothen them out, because previously it was so uneven, so edgy, so sharp that it would definitely scratch up the bumper. Now, the rear bumper is going to be painted either way, with the front bumper and the hood and both side skirts. I think we may end up getting a new side skirt. So the car is going to be looking fresh for PPF. So yeah, that's something that we will do in the future. Our current task is to put tape on this rear diffuser. Now, I'm not sure which tape is the best. Technically, this is an acrylic tape made for this type of job, but it is literally like so thin, each layer of it, that I'm really not sure if it's going to hold the diffuser to the bumper, because again of the imperfections and just a shitty fitment. So I have some thicker tape, and then I have some kind of like gel tape. I don't know, it's from China, but I think this is the only tape that I would trust my life with. So I've already used it before plenty of times, and it is literally the strongest bond in the universe. So I'm probably going to use the combination of 3, because it should just work, right? Okay, so check this out. I've literally stuck this tape on, and it's peeling off this black kind of layer of it, which is like, can you see this? Also, look at the size of this edge right here, and then look at the size of this edge right here. You can even tell in the tape how much black space you have here and how very little black space you have here, because of those two, well, those two being uneven. So I'm kind of losing my patience, but also I am really losing my hope that this is gonna go in the car. And I'm just extremely annoyed. I literally took some sandpaper and I'm trying to get this piece of shit off, because to be honest, like, I understand that there could be some imperfections. It is from China, but the quality of this, the way it was made, whoever was making it had no sort of understanding where this is going to be, what parts are going to be available for us to see on the car. And like this, like, the main install is to put 4 screws in through the bumper, the original ones, and apply a bunch of tape to this in order to stick it on. Like, how could you fail one of 2 steps where this is the more crucial step? So I'm gonna get some sandpaper. Well, it's almost sanded off. Those, I think I'm gonna leave it on, because I don't think I have enough tape to reapply. Or maybe, just maybe, no, you know what? I'm taking this paint off, or I mean this entire tape, and redoing this, because this is an absolute fucking joke, honestly. Look, just to show I'm not over exaggerating. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look how much paint gets off. Like, this is mind-boggling. Like, this is mind-boggling. After putting sandpaper down to this diffuser, you can see that most of those, I guess, shiny edges, not sure if it's going to focus, but most of those shining edges, well, all of the shining edges are gone. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reapply a liberal amount of tape, and we're going to try to fit this on. Although I am already so annoyed, and I will definitely be requesting some form of refund on this piece of trash. Here is my kind of example of applying tape liberally. I've applied it all the way around the edges as well as here. Now I have my bro with me and I have my doubts. The doubts are at current all-time high. I honestly don't even know how to attempt this because I have already tried putting on the other red diffuser which I have, which didn't really stick on. But I guess we have to make an attempt. I've mentioned that the red diffuser has a pretty bad fitment, and let me explain. So at one point this diffuser was created and there was a mold created for it, but of course other companies wanted to kind of rip the product off, I guess. And if you can imagine, I highly doubt that, you know, Chinese manufacturers took an M3 in, scanned it themselves. So as that original mold was created, as the original diffuser was created, which was supposedly the best at that point because it was created properly, then other manufacturers got the hold of the diffuser itself, not the car, but the diffuser itself, and they made the mold around that diffuser. Obviously some imperfections happened, and then at a certain point there were probably so many diffusers out there on the market that nobody knew which one is the original anymore. So as you copy something that has imperfection, you introduce new imperfections, and if you do that many more times, you get this piece of crap which I'm currently trying to apply to my M3. And just to back up my talking point, if there was an M3 there in that specific manufacturer's facility, if it was 3D scanned, then obviously they would know what they are dealing with. But on top of that, this was handmade and this had the quality control sticker. But if again they had some understanding of where this is going, how this is going to fit, then there was no way that this would pass quality control. And here I'm already taking pictures for the return refund. So when we were applying this diffuser on, we pushed it on real hard, and you can feel so much tension in the middle where it arcs up, and you can see that the diffuser fell. And I was pissed, and I was really pissed, and that's still an understatement. So essentially where we're at now is that I've already started the return refund. I was arguing with the manufacturer. They were saying how the diffuser is not straight in the middle, it is bent down, or it is arced down, but that is the entire point. It is not arced down, it is arced up, which I will throw some pictures up on the screen. Now, they are still arguing with me. I have got in contact with an external Alibaba, I guess, representative. I've made it clear that the diffuser was kind of used and that it fell because of, you know, several kind of reasons that you need to try a diffuser on of this kind in order to know if it fits. And also I had to, you know, sandpaper it down because of all of this crap. And even the manufacturer did specify that the diffuser has to be prepared, but not when I bought it, but after sending them pictures of tape coming off with the paint. You might think to yourself, it can't get any worse. Well, I was told by the manufacturer that I need to remove the bumper to apply this diffuser. And I was like, no way, because there's so much tension on this that if this was to go onto the bumper, it would fall off or it would strain the actual mounts of the bumper. And I was also told, no, listen to this, I was told to use bolts and bolt through the diffuser to the bumper, to use actual screws or bolts just to hardware mount it, right? The whole point of an actual exterior aesthetic mod is so it looks nice. And I will most likely update you what happens with this diffuser in the next video, but I already have another manufacturer which is on the market for so many more years, and I think he's the original one, and I will most likely be purchasing that rare diffuser. Well, and I guess this is what essentially happens when you kind of, I guess, gamble while ordering stuff off Alibaba. Now, originally I have done my research as always. I've checked the supplier, made sure that it has good reviews on other products as well, that it does their business, employs many people, and all of the other stuff. But this here is a prime example why not always you should be trusting those statistics and numbers. What are we gonna do? I'm going to end the video soon, or here, but I'm gonna add here the whole outcome of this situation because this video should go out in 2 weeks. I have already sent images of how this diffuser looks on the car to the actual supplier. I think they got back to me right now, and I will be trying to get a full refund on this because it just doesn't fit. I would understand if it was just imperfections, but this just straight up does not fit. Like, it physically doesn't fit. I'll throw pictures up on the screen that even when I put the diffuser to the car, you can see that it just doesn't fit. It's like a banana going the other way instead of going upwards, so it forms to the bumper. Now, I will try to get my hands on a rare diffuser. I don't know how yet. I don't think I'm gonna be waiting 2 months of Alibaba and risking it again. So maybe there will be a local one for sale, or I can pay double, almost double, and order it locally, so then I can just send it back right away and get my money back, which is something I think I'm gonna do. But hopefully I've enjoyed this video more than I have making this video, because this is abysmal to say the least. And yeah, hopefully you're having a nice day and a nice week ahead, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Take care and to the next one.